Hello and welcome back to Whovian Espresso, and today we're going to be taking a look at the brand new Doctor Who trailer which dropped last night on Graham Norton. I did actually stay up to watch Graham Norton last night, so I did actually watch it come out, but I was too tired to do that, to do this video at nearly 11:30 at night it would have been. So we're here now the next day. Let's have a look at this trailer and I'll give my thoughts on it, and as well as a bit of analysis of what I think a lot of these shots could mean. So let's go on with the video. So first up, we've got this lovely poster that was released, I think, just after the trailer drop. We're going to talk about it first. We've got Jody, Dan and Yaz, and they're sort of running away, or just sort of posing in front of this lovely sort of, I guess it's the sort of stringy like rainbow logo that we saw at the poster from the Flux announcement date. So it's nice to have that sort of theme continue into this poster. I suspect this will probably be on like the DVD box set or something, I reckon. Either that or they'll use the one from last week. Well, we'll see. I personally prefer the one from last week, but I still quite like this one. I like the dynamic pose that they're in, and it does generate quite a bit of hype. I quite like it a bit. This first shot we get of Jody is sort of her pointing upwards with her sonic screwdriver. She then goes to sort of emit this sort of sonic, I've kind of got sonic sort of bomb type thing where you get this sort of waves like shaking around the camera or something. But I think maybe it could be a kind of signal or something. Maybe she's trying to transmit something, or a warning, or maybe she's trying to transmit a sort of signal that will maybe interrupt with some like alien sort of signals or something and disrupt their talking or something. It sounds something like that, usually something like that, but it looks very dramatic. It's a really interesting way to get my attention at the start of the trailer. I really think Jodie's look on here is on point. Sort of that agony when the sound plays. It kind of reminds me of, what's the thing that reminds me of in Torchwood? There's this sort of sonic modulator that Tosh has to make in, I think it's Exit, no, not Exit, it's Fragments, in her flashback sequence. It reminds me of that. That's what it reminds me of. But yeah, that's this opening shot. This next shot is of one of the new guest stars, and now I'm going to be honest, I don't know who half these people are, but this person looks like she's sort of wearing 1940s vibe clothing, and then there's some kind of church in the background. But the main notable thing that I've just noticed is that there's a weeping angel behind her, I think. So, and she's this, it's happening again, I think is what she says. But, I mean, there's a shot later on that we'll get to where there's a lot of weeping angels, so I wonder what's going on with that. It's sort of like a weeping angel attack or something. It's a bit weird because you don't normally see that many weeping angels in one go. So, I'm curious to see what's going on there. But yeah, the weeping angel in the background suggests this is from the Weeping Angel episode. This next shot, while I don't know the actress's name, I believe is of Mary Seacole, who is going to be in probably the Sontaran episode, because Mary Seacole, if you didn't know, was a nurse during the Crimean War. And obviously later on we see this big battle between the soldiers and the Sontarans, and I think it's safe to say that's probably the Crimean War episode, which I think is going to be quite early on in the series. I think a lot of people seem to think the Sontarans are going to be featuring, I think, episode 1 or 2. They are previewed in this month's Doctor Who magazine, which we'll get to when we get to the Sontaran. But I would suggest it's either episode 1 or 2. Part of me thinks that it's going to be sort of leaking over into episode 2, where so Mary Seacole and the Crimean War will be in episode 2, and then Liverpool and the Sontarans will be introduced in episode 1. But I'm looking forward to Mary Seacole's episode. She's not a historical feature that I've been taught about. I mean, I knew vaguely about her because there's a poem that I studied in English and she's mentioned in it by John Agar called Check Out My History. So, and that makes the point that we don't obviously get taught a lot about these people. So I'm looking forward to about Doctor Who having a chance to sort of share that history that we don't necessarily get taught about in school. Next we have a shot, she's in close-up and she's smiling up at the camera. She's in her period costume, which I think looks very Indiana Jones, so I'm curious to see what's going on in that episode. But yeah, that's about all I can say about this episode. It looks quite exciting. I remember filming pictures of this costume, and obviously there's the shot in the first trailer where Dan falls onto the ground and she's just sitting there like, hiya. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that episode. I think it's going to be a hoot. This shot is actually from, we saw it first on New Year's Day 2020. Doesn't that feel like an age ago now? When Dan was first announced. So we've known about this shot for a while, but something I thought was quite interesting is the rust on the cage reminds me of the rust that is featured on the Sontaran helmet later on. So I'm guessing that this is probably from the Crimean War episode, because it's sort of, I guess, it's not something you necessarily expect in the future. I don't think you really expect in the present. So I think it's going to be a historical. And I think that the Weeping Angel one is probably going to be like 1940s type story, based on the clothing more than anything. Maybe 50s or 60s. I always get those periods up. I'm so sorry. One of my friends is a historical fashion geek, so I don't really know. I actually get some dynamics out, but it could be that era, so I don't expect the cage to be from that episode, so I'd say Crimean War for this one. This landscape shot, or establishing shot, looks like it's Liverpool docks to me, which I don't know, does Liverpool have docks like this? I haven't been to Liverpool in years, but never mind. Either way, it looks like some kind of docks or factory area, very reminiscent of the cranes from The Woman Who Fell to Earth, which I thought when I saw this. But you've also got some lovely new CGI Sontaran spaceships, which actually, considering the size of the cranes, don't actually look that big. They don't look as big as I imagined them to be. Never mind, they still look quite big. I mean, we have to take into account the size of the Sontarans, of course. Although these Sontarans do look quite tall to me. I don't know. They kind of give me sort of Time Warrior meets the Two Doctors vibe, but we'll get to that when we get to them. But yeah, so they've got a lovely shot of the docks, and the Sontaran spaceships look really great, actually. I remember thinking that when we got the shot of the ship being projected above Liverpool, but here we are, we've got a proper shot of them in the actual series. So they haven't got that rainbow lighting which was prominent on the Liverpool one, which I'm kind of disappointed about. I quite like that, but yeah, never mind. Still look good. These next two photos are a bit odd to decipher what's going on. It appears that there's some sort of alien exploding into glitter here, but I'm not really sure what to make of this. It's sort of combusting, I guess, so I'm curious to see what's going on here, but nevertheless it looks interesting. But yeah, that's about all I can say about this, except that it looks like it had a glitter bomb inside them. Next up, we get a fairly standard shot of Jody piloting the Tardis as it sort of falls down. I don't know where it's going, but it kind of reminds me of in Age of Steel when the Tardis is falling into the void or into the new parallel Earth. And I mean, a lot of people have been theorising that this could be a multiverse type story, so you never know, we'll see. It could possibly be a parallel Earth. Next, we have another shot of a guest character, but the guest character is not what is important, is what I've spotted in the background, and it is only Ashen Hill Manor from the Sarah Jane Adventures, the episode where they're an eternity tramp. But obviously, more notably, it's in my favourite Doctor Who story, The Forest of the Dead. It's the sort of hospital, the Cal hospital that Donna is taken to. So I just know that, and I'm so proud of that. But yeah, we've got the new guest character, and then you've got that lovely Ashen Hill Manor in the back. I don't know if it's actually called Ashen Hill Manor, but in my head it's called Ashen Hill Manor. But yeah, so that's the exciting thing about this first shot of the new sort of guest cast shots, which we'll go through. Here we have someone I do not know, but yeah, she's looking quite scared. You can't really see the costume, so I can't make a vague estimate as to whether this is Crimean War or present day. I think she's got quite a present day haircut. I don't know, but then again, I kind of see like sort of that 60s sort of vibe as well in the hair, so I don't know, really. I don't know anything about this shot, but it looks interesting. Next up, Chewbacca makes his debut as the 14th Doctor. No, just kidding, of course. This is, of course, this new dog character from Doctor Who, which gives me major cat people in Series 2 vibes, and I did quite like the cat people, but that's mainly because they're cats. I'm not a dog person, I'll admit, but having said that, this is one of the cutest dogs I've ever seen. I love the little beady eyes, and I find it very unbelievable that he's holding an axe later on. I don't think he would want to kill me, but I mean, that comes to the person who literally, like, avoids dogs at all costs when they're on the pavement because they freak me out. So, yeah, the fact that this dog is holding an axe kind of feels very unbelievable. But nevertheless, it's a very interesting character. There's a shot of it later on that we'll get to as well from promo images. Next up, we sort of just have another guest character, don't really know the name of, but we have an army uniform. So I'm making the collection, probably Crimean War episode. Again, there's sort of a window that sort of looks quite churchy, sort of abandoned house type thing. So quite spooky vibes. I do wonder if maybe the angels and the Sontarans will cross over, because I'm getting a lot of Weeping Angel type atmosphere from both those episodes. So we'll see if they do cross over, but that's what I'm inferring from the lighting choices more than anything else. But it's interesting. It's quite a spooky sort of atmosphere to this shot. Here we have the first shot of the Sontarans in this episode, series. We had a couple of photographs from Doctor Who magazine, which came out Thursday, so a couple of days ago from filming this now, but it's been out for a while now, and the photographs have all been on the internet, as I'm sure you'd imagine, but the new designs have been released. I think there's generally positive thoughts for them. I quite like them. As I said before, they sort of give me Time Warrior meets the Two Doctors vibes, at least in height. The makeup on the head definitely gives me like Time Warrior vibes. I thought the makeup on the head for the Sontarans hasn't really been topped since the Time Warrior. Even in the new series, I mean, while I like the prosthesis head type thing, I think that works. I never thought the makeup was on point, particularly with Strax, which I thought just looked a bit cheap. It never just looked right to me, but this looks good. I don't think this is the best angle for it. If we go to the DWM shot, I think the face, particularly in this shot, looks a lot better. You definitely got a more Time Warrior vibe from this one. I think the paint application, I do think the expression is a little off. I don't know what's going on in that expression, but nevertheless, it's sort of a very Sontaran type expression to make, I think. But either way, I think it's an exciting new design. The costume itself has a very rustic vibe to them, and I think they fit that Crimean War vibe a bit more than the, say, blue Sontarans would have done. I just thought the blue Sontarans they popped, certainly, but in the wrong way. I mean, when you think of the Sontarans, they're sort of supposed to be like camouflaged, really. And I don't think blue really, like, gives camouflage vibes. Admittedly, neither does black and grey. But it's slightly better, you know? But, I mean, they are supposed to be, like, alien soldiers, aren't they? So you'd think they wouldn't want to pop up in their environment. But, yeah, that's just a complaint to the RTD sort of version. I still like the RTD version. I quite like that design. But I never quite connected it as I did the classic designs. Now, this was the moment in the trailer where I actually gasped. I mean, I don't do trailer reactions, but I'm sure it would have been worth it just for that moment when I gasped when I saw an Ood. And this is because I was watching Play of the Ood the other day, because I'm on Series 4 in my rewatch. I've been rewatching it since the beginning. I started in April. I don't own all the classic series, but it's still taking me a long time to get to it. But I was watching Planet of the Ood. I said, I really wish the Ood would come back. And here they are, they're back. And I love them. I love their new googly eyes. They sort of give me googly eyes vibes. So I'm looking forward to seeing the Ood again. I really love them, and I've missed them so much. I mein, they'll probably only turn up for like a cameo appearance, if I'm honest. Like, part of me thinks that in the finale, they just got all their costumes from the costume department, so let's throw a big finale. So yeah, I'm very excited for the Ood. I just love them. So I hope we get a bit of justice for them, like a bit of a story. But yeah, that's the Ood. Here we have the Doctor and Yaz hanging upside down like bats. I mean, they could be hanging down, or maybe it's Crittane. I mean, there's a chance that it's significant, but I don't think the fact they're hanging upside down like bats is significant. They're all chained up, and they're on this sort of green gas planet, which I guess is... I'm guessing this is the adventure that they're halfway through when they meet Dan. I'm guessing this is some sort of, like, pre-credits sort of thing, like the Caretaker's opening kind of has, like, a myriad of adventures that the Doctor and Clara go through. I reckon it's something similar to that here. So this is the same location that Thari said was Old High Gallifrey. And actually, look at it, I'm actually going to throw my hat in the ring and say this is a Sontaran ship, because you got weapons on the wall. It kind of has that Sontaran vibe to it. Like, maybe not new series sometimes, it's all purple neon lighting, but certainly this one has a more grungy sort of, the kind of way they're going with the new Sontarans. This is what gives me that vibe. So it could be that, it could just be like a general Crimean soldier. There's a symbol on the floor, and to be fair, if that is some Crimean War symbol, I suspect it'd be like just some Crimean War room or something. I don't know, do they have those? I don't know anything about the Crimean War, so that's another reason to tune in, so I can learn something about the Crimean War. But yeah, I reckon this is some kind of war room, although the camera on the wall makes me think Sontaran, because I don't think Crimean soldiers had like little cameras on the wall. So yeah, I'm reckoning this is the inside of a Sontaran ship. We get another couple of guest characters I don't know the names of, because I haven't seen the series yet. But I do get a futuristic vibe from their costumes. I don't get sort of historical vibe. I mean, if I was to place a bet on how many historicals will be in this, I reckon that the Weeping Angel one will be historical, because you need a historical element with a Weeping Angel story, really. And because it's zapping back in time, and of course the Crimean War one. So I'm guessing that this is sort of a futuristic vibe. It kind of gives me Desolation vibe from Series 11 with the sand and the sky and everything. Obviously we know they haven't been able to film abroad for this series, so that's potentially unlikely, but I mean there are some beaches in Wales. I mean Bad Wolf Bay is not in Norway, it's actually in Wales, so there's a chance that it could be some kind of weird sandy planet. We'll see. Very Tatooine type vibe. Next we have a two-shot of Yaz and Dan, and this is quite an interesting one. I quite like you got the woods in the background, which again gives me that Crimean War vibe, which they're very, very obviously wearing costumes that look either very similar or very, very close to that episode 1-1. So I'm guessing that this could potentially be one continuous story, to be honest. I mean, I don't think I've noticed that many costume changes, bar the period costume change for the Indiana Jones type one. So, I mean, part of me does think this could be, like, one continuous adventure across 6 episodes. I mean, he has said, Chris Chibnall, it's, like, one big novel, although I think it was, like, it's, like, told in 6 chapters, and at least that's what it says in the trailer. But it's interesting what's going on here. I love the many layers of clothes, gets me excited for the winter. I get that vibe. I love the many layers of clothes. But, yeah, here we go. So, here we have a swarm. Yes, I think this is the swarm. I know a lot of people on social media are saying, oh, Sontarans, Weeping Angels, and then Ravagers, and then M being something else that we don't know. But I think the swarm could be this big sort of thing that's going across the universe, eating planets, which is what I think, potentially. But, I mean, obviously, we still don't know. It's very early days, it's a second trailer. We haven't seen the series. It could still be the army, sort of Sinister Six of Doctor Who, but I think this is the swarm. I think we'll get to what I think the Flux is later on as well. Next we have another shot of Jacob Anderson as Vinda, and I think something that a lot of people point out from the new Doctor Who magazine is there's these weird symbols on his sort of lapels, and they give people like Jadoon vibes, like maybe he's a Jadoon prisoner, or maybe he's a Jadoon mercenary who works for the Jadoon. I think that's a possibility. As I mentioned before, I got Han Solo vibes from him. And see, this whole series does actually have a Star Wars vibe to it. I mean, take away the historicals, of course, but this whole sort of trailer very much gave me sort of big Star Wars battle vibes. So I'm curious to see how that's reflected in the actual series, because I mean, Doctor Who, since Star Wars came out, has been really trying to challenge Star Wars in a way. I mean, it's never always been successful. I would regard that this is quite a successful attempt to challenge Star Wars. But I mean, obviously, we're never going to get quite there. But I certainly think with characters like Vinda and the Chewbacca wannabe, it's certainly getting to that point. But yeah. Next, we have a sort of short sequence of the Doctor and Yaz sort of falling about in this sort of green gas planet, which I'm going to stick to my guns saying this is sort of the opening pre-credits sort of sequence to series 13. I mean, I don't know how long it's going to be, but I certainly think it's been very early on in the series. I don't think they could go on with this sort of vibe with just because it's just them as well in all the shots from this sequence. I think it's before they meet Dan. Next we have Jody sitting in a void. I mean, we saw a very similar shot of this with she turned around to camera like earlier in the first trailer, like it was the first shot or something. But she's here with a person, sort of another alien. Part of me thinks this is the Ravagers, but also part of me thinks those drone things are the Ravagers. So I don't know what these could be. Part of me thinks sort of like black and white Guardians. I mean, they don't really colour code them. I don't know. There was kind of like, this one's kind of purpley, and I think the other one's kind of like white. I'm not sure. We've got a shot of them later on. But I certainly get that vibe from the sort of omniscient, sort of godlike beings. I mean, there's a chance that this is actually the original species for Jody, because I got Timeless Child vibes from these sort of shots. So I'm wondering if maybe these are the Doctor's parents. I mean, it's crazy, but it's a possibility, you know. I mean, the Timeless Child arc has got to be wrapped up within this series, so the answer has got to be here somewhere. Now, this is what I think could be potentially old high Gallifrey. It's sort of got that orangey tinge to it that you sort of expect from Gallifrey, a sort of yellowy vibe. And then there's these weird projections as Jacob Anderson's Vinda walks into the sort of shot. And I'm curious to see what's going on here, because it's sort of like ghosts or something. And I'm wondering what they could be. But it's a very interesting set. Again, this set gives me Star Wars vibes. I mean, particularly like Solo, the Solo movie, which I didn't really like, but it gives me that kind of vibe in terms of like set design. Here is that creature. I think this is the other creature from the Void before we got the other one here. So I'm wondering if these are the two master villains of the story. I mean, there's a chance they could be good. I mean, when I saw the filming pictures of them, I certainly thought they were maybe like good characters. But actually seeing them in this sort of like series, the way that the other characters talking to Jody makes me think maybe villains. But also I get that vibe that they could be like parents, like genuinely. I mean, it's unlikely, but it's a possibility. I mean, something has got to happen at the time to start this up. But yeah, I'm not too keen on this design, to be honest. I think it doesn't look that great. I didn't think much of it when I was in the filming shots. It looks slightly better, but still not that great, to be honest. Get more futuristic characters. These are the characters I think were running away before. Again, don't really know much about them. Other than I am sort of getting like Rebels in Star... Now I'm getting in that Star Wars mindset with this trailer. I do kind of get like Rebels from Star Wars vibe. But also those creatures before gave me Star Trek vibes. So I don't know. It seems like an amalgamation of a lot of sci-fi styles. But it's very interesting to see which direction they're going with this. Now we get the Crimean War Battle sequence I was referring to before with the Sontarans. And first we get the shot of this soldier whipping out his sword. One thing that I get from this trailer is scale. Like, I know there seems to be a lot of like CGI establishing shots, which is, I get that with this series because you obviously haven't been able to go on location and stuff. And it does add a real sense of scope. I mean, there's no way that this shot is real. There's no way they got that many Sontarans or extras. But it looks phenomenal, honestly. This is a great shot. And I love the sort of red laser beams hitting on the Crimean soldiers. Who probably haven't even got guns of their own. I don't even know. But nevertheless, it just adds to that scale of this series. It really does. Like, it gives really epic vibes to this series. I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait to see what's going on here. How the Sontarans end up in the Crimean War in the first place. It just makes me so hyped, honestly. Now we have another sort of guest character, don't know the name of, but her costume looks interesting here. Again, sort of giving me that Rebel from Star Wars vibe. And then we've got red corn behind her, so that's definitely an alien planet. I mean, part of me thinks this is from that opening sequence because it has that sort of weird vibe to it. I don't know if is there like, there kind of is a haze above it, but also kind of gives me like Gallifrey vibes. So maybe she's like a young Gallifreyan, I don't know. It's a possibility, but yeah. It looks interesting, I'll give them that. I can't quite put my finger on what this is giving me, to be honest, but it's interesting. So here we have another character in that 60s, 50s, 40s vibe, but actually from this shot I'm more getting 60s because of the sort of wallpaper choice. It's a very solid colour choice is what I get that vibe from. I mean, I don't know, it could still be 40s. I don't think it'll be 50s. I think Doctor's kind of done 50s, but 40s or 60s. I'm leaning towards 60s in this vibe with the costume choice and the background. Got Jody in the background, but what's apparently more significant about this shot is that this actor has been in Doctor Who before and continuing Chris Chibnall's trend of hiring from mid-80s Doctor Who stories. In fact, the story after Philip Glenister, is it? Who was in Kaiser and Jazani. We've got, from the same season, no less. We've got one of the twins from the Twin Dilemma, I think. I think it's one of the twins. I feel like that really old guy from Twin Dilemma is too old now. But yeah, it's interesting, I guess. I thought it was interesting. Here we are, the Weeping Angels, and this is the sort of horde of Weeping Angels I was referring to before. I mean, the Weeping Angels, there's something off about these Weeping Angels. I don't know what it is. They just sort of look different to me, like subtly. I can't quite work it out. There's a promo picture, which I'll get up halfway through this, but which also has that sort of weird sort of, I don't know what's wrong with it, but it's something weird. It kind of reminds me of the one that Stephen Moffat has in his backyard, but I don't know. Maybe it is the one that Stephen Moffat has in his backyard, but also, it's sort of got this sort of weird cross in the background, which gives me sort of... I mean, we saw that kind of church-like building before, so I'm wondering if this is a sort of running theme in this series, because obviously recently they've been filming in front of a church as well. So I'm curious to see what's going on there, but it's interesting. The lighting is all very nice and blue and dramatic as well, and I'm really curious to see why so many Weeping Angels there are here. So yeah, I guess there could be like a horde or a swarm of Weeping Angels. You never know. Swarms are all over the place these days. Next, we've got another nice shot of Yaz in her period costume. I like the shot, I guess. I mean, not much I can say about this other than it's that Indiana Jones vibe again. But yeah, it's nice. And now, the return of the Cyberboys. I mean, I'm not that excited about the return of Cybermen. I mean, they've just like been in the last series, which I know feels like a long time ago. But, I mean, it still feels, like, quite fresh to me. So I'm not that keen about the Cybermen returning. I mean, it's nice to have them. It's always nice to have the Cybermen. I just don't really... I mean, unlike the U, which I hope get used, like, quite a bit, I wouldn't be so fussed if these were relegated to a little cameo appearance. But it's nice to have them. It's a nice shot of them. I think this design does look really nice. I think particularly since I saw it in Series 12, I've grown to like it a lot more. But yeah, it's nice to have them. It's a very nice dynamic shot here, and they're sort of charging before us as well. Next up, we have a shot of a Cyberman, sort of just a promo shot of it pointing a gun. And this kind of gave me Star Wars vibes again, because it sort of had that Stormtrooper vibe in a sort of cantina. So yeah, that's what I got from this like little promo shot here. Next up, we got a shot of the Doctor running towards the Tardis in this obviously Crimean War environment here. So, I mean, I liked the shot. There's a shot in Doctor Who magazine. I don't think anyone's like put on the internet, so I can't really find it unless you want a really crappy photograph that I've taken from my phone, but I'm not going to do that. But of this shot of the Tardis surrounded by the Crimean War, I kind of like that sort of antithesis of the Doctor not standing for war and everything, and then you've got the TARDIS in the middle of it. So I think that's interesting. But here we've got her running to the TARDIS. She's by herself, which makes me interested. I mean, is the others in danger? Has she been separated from Dan and Yaz? I mean, there's a shot later on with just a two-shot of just Yaz and Dan. So there's a possibility that they may have been cut off in this episode. Possibly. Maybe that's what's happening. Maybe she's going to try and save them. We're getting to the end now, but here we have a shot of Jody just outside the TARDIS talking to, I think, Vinda, possibly Mary C. Cole, I'm not sure, it could be anyone really, but they were the first two that came to my head when I saw this shot. But it's a nice shot of the TARDIS. I like how the TARDIS is sort of like illuminated. Like, I love seeing the TARDIS in slightly darker environments, because the light really nicely shines through the windows in this design. Now, this shot gives me sort of the Flux vibes. This is what I think the Flux is. This purpley thing reminds me of the vision that 13th Doctor had in, like, Series 12. So I'm wondering if this is the portal through to that void thing we saw earlier with the creature that I theorised could be their parents. So I think that's possibly what's going on here. Maybe she's found the Flux, which is the portal to her homeworld, maybe. So yeah, I think it's very interesting what that could possibly be. But we'll see. Time will tell. It always does. Final two shots now, we've got Yaz saying no, and we're getting that Crimean War sort of scenery, and I think we've got Dan behind her. So maybe this is where the Doctor runs off. Maybe she's like running away from this. It's a possibility. I mean, we saw Donna do it in Fires of Pompeii, where the Doctor refuses to save anybody. So maybe something happens and she refuses to save anybody because of time or something. I'm not sure what. Again, I don't know much about the Crimean War, but if there's like a time like that, it's a possibility that maybe Yaz is trying to stand up to the Doctor like Donna did in Fires of Pompeii. Then the final shot we have is of a Sontaran ship blowing up. Again, you've got some Crimean War soldiers there. So this probably takes place towards the end of episode 2, I'm going to say. I mean, I could break down a structure of what I think the series is going to be at the end, but I think this is episode 2, towards the end of episode 2, and then it glitches away into the Doctor Who Flux logo. I do love this lovely final shot. It's a very climatic, dramatic end to the trailer, which I think has just been so epic. I mean, from the length of this video, there's been a lot to unpack. I mean, a lot more than the last one, which didn't have very much at all to talk about, but yeah, there's a lot to talk about in this series, I think. It did also occur to me that this could be the ship's landing as well. I mean, I think the character, there could be Mary Seacole there. I mean, she would want to be, like, on the front line as a nurse to, like, try and help tend to the injured there. So it would make sense if maybe they're just landing and then the ships arrive. So that's a possibility too. So that is the Series 13 trailer and a couple of the promo pictures thrown in there for good measure. I was really, like, blown away last night. I think the timing could have been better. That's all I will say. I mean, I'm very happy with what we got, but for a family show, not children's show. God, no, I don't know what I'm saying that. But for a family show, 11 o'clock at night is just not a good time to drop stuff like this. I mean, it's a lot of good stuff. I'll give them that. But, I mean, I would have dropped a clip here and maybe have dropped this trailer last week, to be honest. I would have had everything be a week ahead of what it is, but I'm glad we got it. That's all I want to say. And it's fantastic, honestly. It's some of the best promotion I think the show's had since 2018, honestly. And probably one of the best trailers we've had since Series 10. I really, really loved this trailer. There was so much to unpack, as evidenced by the length of the video. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to this series. I mean, at the moment, my general idea of how the series could be structured is sort of episode 1 and 2 feature the Sontarans. And that sort of bleeds into the Weeping... Well, no, actually, no. I don't think it will bleed into the Weeping Angel story. I think there'll be maybe the Indiana Jones story for episode 3. Then episode 4, because it's written by Maxine Alderton, I'm going to place the Weeping Angels here. Because I think that... I mean, she's the only writer to have signed on, the only co-writer. And I think her vibe from Villa Diodati very much gave me that Weeping Angel vibe. So I think that's a possibility. And then episode 5 and 6 will be this big climatic finale where all the answers about the timeless children are answered and everything. But yeah, that's my general idea of how the series itself will be structured. But yeah, Halloween 2021, don't miss it. I don't know the time yet. A lot of people theorising at 8:30. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Thanks for watching. If you made it this far, I'm really grateful. Subscribe, tell me your thoughts on Series 13, and goodbye.